All right, so I am now on box number 4, and I've started filling out my small shelf, or my small game shelf. So I have this one that is quite small, which probably has a bunch of smaller games. So I figure I might as well bring that one out, which was my stand that I put the little, I bought at the pharmacy where I work. We got these little tiny phone holder on like feet thing, right? What's the word for those? I can't remember the word for those. Since all of my stuff is still packed up in my missing AV box, so and I had this on this box, but I'm like, okay, well, I'll unpack that since we kind of got this mostly stacked now. So here is box number 4. I'll move this aside over here. So first one I have is Blockus, the dice game, which is so good. This is a roll and write, and Blockus version of a roll and write, and it's tricky because you get yourself like locked and stuck in a corner fairly quickly, and you pass on the color markers, and then so each round's like, okay, well, this is gonna have to be this color, and there's 4 different colors, and following the Blockus rules, you got to add the colors to connect a corner but not share a side with the other pieces of its same color. It's so cool. Really enjoyed this one. Then I have Castle of Burgundy, the dice game. This is another roll and write. This is the first time I've played a roll and write, and I don't think the term roll and write was a thing yet, or I hadn't heard of it that way. And it was so cool. This was the first, because I was watching a video tutorial, and he's like, pull out your game, play along. And I'm like, what? And you could, and it was so neat because everybody's playing on the same roll, but ends up with complete different things, and it just kind of blew my mind a little bit. And that was my first ever roll and write Burgundy, the dice game. Then in here I have, it's kind of a funny story, and I saw somebody who was doing videos on this, and it's just kind of like an icebreaker party game thing, kind of. Well, come up with a thing kind of that prompts you to share different funny stories and stuff that would have happened. So I thought it'd be kind of an interesting one. So we'll see. Then I have the zombie dice, which is so fun. It's so simple, and it's completely luck driven. You just roll the dice, and you're trying to roll it for as many brain as you can. And it's like, okay, so I've rolled 2. If you've got like a shotgun symbol, then you've been shot in the face. If you ever get 3 of those, then you're done and you collect nothing. But then you can keep going, trying to get as many brains as you can. It's a fun one. Then I have Guillotine, which is, you get all these characters in a row, and they get in line for getting their heads chopped off at the guillotine. And on your turn, you kind of chop off somebody's head, and then you collect them, and it's a set collection game. So basically, you're like collecting all these people's heads for, bragging rights. And the more you have of military, or the more you have of clergies, or different things like that, more points they can accumulate to be. But then you have cards that you can play that will manipulate the lineups. Like, okay, well, you get to move somebody at the front of the line, or you get to move somebody further down, or different things like that. It's a ridiculous theme, but the game is quite fun. So a guillotine. And then I have Ramen Fury. This plays, I guess a little bit kind of like Sushi Go. You're putting your soup together, and you're putting ingredients in it, and depending on what you draw, what it's worth. And I just loved it because it's like a package of ramen. And I thought that was kind of pretty unique. So, Ramen Fury. Then I have a second copy of Melbourne that's in a baggie, not in a box for some reason. So, okay, I don't know if I have 2 copies of them, but it's one of those nostalgia game. And, I got so many Unos and so many skip bows, speaking of which. We have a version of Skip-Bo here, which when it comes to Melbourne, Uno, Skip-Bo, Skip-Bo tends to be one that I like to play. And you have this stack of cards that everybody gets, and the goal is to get rid of those, and you're playing from 1 to 13, and when you get 13, you get that out of the way, and you keep adding 1 to 13. And there's 4 stacks that you can add to, and you're trying to get rid of this stack, but you got your cards in your hand, and it's an interesting one. And then I have this one that I bought secondhand, and he didn't have the box, and it's called Landlord. I think it's called Landlord. But you have this building, and you build up this building, and you have these different floors, and you're adding tenants into this, and then some of the tenants are terrible, some of the tenants are good, and it seems so interesting. And then I was used to teach for a real estate investment company that I was like, okay, I need that game for the theme alone. So Landlord. And then I have regular decks of cards, because as I mentioned, I have a lot of these. And then I have Llamas Unleashed, and you're collecting llamas, trying to get your kind of barn with so many llamas, but then they'll do different things. It's made by the Unstable Unicorn, and so it's a simple kind of card game that the kids actually enjoy playing. Lily especially. Jesus, I'm not sure what's all over this box, but it's sticky a little bit. And then it's one of those magnetic closure. I don't know why I like this so much, but I really do. Llamas Unleashed. And then we have Gyrating Hamsters, and boy, have we played this one a lot. I remember the first time I played it with my friend Ali, and I'm like, okay, I don't know about this game. And then we've played it again and again and again, and it's gotten better and better and better. And this is like the game we love to hate, because your goal is to get to 16 hamsters in your horde. And you're like at 14, then all of a sudden the hurricane card comes up, and it takes all the hamsters and it shuffles them all, and it distributes them all evenly. And now you're down to like 8 hamsters, and it's like, are you kidding me? So as long as you understand, you pretty much have zero control. This is a fun, neat little game. Then we have Sparkle Kitty. And you're building this kitten word tower. It's a very silly little game. It's actually my stepdaughter's game, and then we played it when she was a little younger, so I haven't played it in a long time. So you got all these tower cards that you add on, and you're trying to reach a certain level to win. It was kind of a silly, cute game. So then we have Exploding Kittens, which is a game we would play lots, and it's just so ridiculous. You're trying to be the last man standing, because there's a few kittens in here that are bombs. They're exploding cats, and if you have a diffuse kitten in your hand, you can defuse the bomb. Otherwise, you explode and you're eliminated. But you have cards that'll manipulate, and then like, oh, you defuse it, now you put the bomb back in, and you take the deck and you can put it anywhere. You can put it right on top. You can put 2 cards in. You can put it all the way to the bottom. You could just put it somewhere in there. And then it could be like, hey, man, I'm going to put it right on top. And then it's the next player's card. I'm like, haha, you're going to... And then they could have a shuffle card that changes the whole thing. And then we have Exploding Kitten. I don't know what NSFW means, but it's the adult version. And I remember playing this. I can't remember who gave this to me. I think my friend bought it not realizing that's what the black box did, and she had bought it to play with her pasture. And I was like people from her church, I was like, you may not want to. But it's just kind of Exploding Kittens with more cartoony, inappropriate cards. And the first time I was playing it with my sister, we were playing it, we're like, oh, I don't want to look at my cards. But teenage boys really love this, so there we go. And then we have Astronomy Flux. I got this one for my birthday, but my birthday was on the 21st of June, and then we had Melcon, and then we started packing, so I haven't had a chance to play this yet. I have Star Trek Flux. So Flux kind of plays all differently, where it starts with draw a card, play a card, but it changes as you play. And then these cards do different things, and then the goal is to have a combination of cards in your hand at a certain time, but the goal changes all the time. And then I have LCR, which is so fun. There's 3 dice, and you roll the 3 dice, and you have tokens, or if you want to make it kind of more interesting, play with loonies or toonies or money anyways. And then you roll, and then if it has a black dot, you get to keep it. If it has an L, you have to send one of your money to the left. If it's a right, you got to send one to the right. And if it's C, then it goes in the pot in the middle. And you keep playing until one person has all the money, or it's in the pot in the middle, and then you win the whole pot. So it's an interesting one. Coloredo is another one. Like, I bought it for Lily for Christmas, and it's cool. Like, you're collecting, and you'll score your top 3 different colors that you have the most of. But any other colors you've collected are going to count as negative points. So you want to make sure you get the proper colors and try not to get the colors you don't want. So, and you're creating, like I pick, you choose type of thing, because you play cards and you have 3 stack you'll be playing in. I guess it depends on the number of players, but you're adding to the stack, and then at any point you can be like, okay, I'm gonna take this stack because that's kind of has what I want in it. But it could be like, okay, well, I really need greens, and then this has 2 greens but it has a blue, and now I haven't been collecting blue at all, so that's gonna be negative points, and you kind of have to decide what you want to do. And I think is the more you have of one color, the more it is, but then more points it's worth, but then you get those negative points as well, right? It's interesting. And then I have a book of card game rules, because, you know, I like to play cards. That's why we have so many decks of cards. And then I also have in here 4 of these, because we'd set it up so we could play 4 players. And these are to play the, what is it called now? Battle dice, or the one that's like Warriors, Dice Masters. It's to play the Dice Masters, and you're like, you could go online and download the map that kind of helps you place your dice where they need to be. So just a lot easier to play with this. And then I laminated them so they'd be more resistant. And then so for playing the Spider-Man Dice Master. And that's it in this little box. So be sure to tune in to find out what is in box number 5, because this was box number 4. So bye, everybody.